Hey, everybody, welcome in. Welcome. It's another Music Monday, and I am so glad that you are here with me on Unsigned Artist Reveal Worldwide. I am Sabrina Taylor, creator and host of the show. So, you know the routine. I want you to grab your handheld. Yes, and I want you to share, invite. I want you to tag and let everybody know that Unsigned Artist Reveal is on the air. And you guys know how I like to check things out. I want to make sure that everything looks good and sounds good. And so, what I'm going to do is kind of look around and see what it looks like on Facebook. Come on in, everybody. Take a seat, grab a glass of wine. I've got an amazing creative that is on tonight, and I can actually see me there. So, the creative that I have, I can't even remember. I think I saw him or someone referred him to me and said, "You need to bring Tony Pruden on." And I said, "Okay, well, let's take a listen." I went out there and I couldn't find a lot. And so once I did talk to him, I was just amazed at the music once I got connected to him. The music was just absolutely amazing. And I thought this guy is just multifaceted, multi-skilled, just rich with creativity. And so tonight, I want to bring him on to introduce him to you guys and the music and the path and the journey of Tony Pruden. So, listen, everybody, please welcome our special guest on tonight, singer, songwriter, producer, and all that matters musically, Tony Pruden. Welcome to the show, Tony.
Well,
Hey,
thank you so much for having me, Sabrina.
you are really welcomed. It's an honor to have you on, to chat with you on tonight. And
Thank you for having me, Sabrina. It's actually an honor to be here.
oh, thank you. Thank you. People are starting to come in, comments are starting to pop up. We'll definitely get to some of those in just a little bit. I'm sure they've got some questions. They always have questions, but that's the UAR family. I love them. I support them too. You know, outside of them supporting me, it's just like a reciprocation. Love my family. Without them, I don't know what I would do. But listen, I want to begin talking with you. You were born in New York. What part of New York were you born in New York? You were
I was born.
raised in
I was born and raised in New York. I was actually born in Brooklyn and raised in Long Island.
Oh, wow.
Yes, I
Yeah.
mean they're actually two different lifestyles. Of course, when you're in New York City, I mean the five boroughs. That's one thing, but in Long Island, a lot of people had at that time had moved from the city to get to like what they would consider more of a suburban lifestyle at that time. So probably when I was 6 or 7 is when we left Brooklyn. So
Really? Talk about that time because I've found, and it might not be so for you, but I've found that as someone who sang as well, grew up in church, church choir, and church director, and I was a part of many of the choirs in high school, like the major choir, madrigals, and such. But for me, it just originated with me being in front of a mirror and having a boom box on top of a dresser. What's the story for you? How'd you discover music?
well, to give a little bit of perspective, I was born in 1963. I'm 61 years old. And so the music that started to inspire me was probably the same music that inspired everybody at that time. We were listening to the Jackson Five,
Yep.
Marvin Gaye, but My mother at the time, she wasn't really a church going person, so a lot of my music connection wasn't born in the church. It actually just came from back then. You had the vinyl record player and the stereo,
Yep.
and we dance around the living room listening to "Got to Give It Up" and Stevie Wonder's music. So I guess that would be the earliest connection I had. But like most people at that young age, we were focused on the young superstars. I was very much focused on Michael Jackson at the time. Believe it or not, I liked Donny Osmond. I was crazy about him too.
So
You know,
die.
so that time was music there. So I didn't I wouldn't say that my earliest connections to music were traditionally uh, sort of they weren't traditionally what you would expect from someone
Sure.
who adopted some music as their primary lifestyle, so to speak.
Sure. And that's fine because, all of our lifestyles are different. Just for me, that was one of the ways because what you're describing actually is how I think many African American families appreciated music or heard music, even in travel from where I was raised and going on vacation to Chicago. And my aunt had a club, so
Oh
she
wow!
always had music going. Yeah. So there were all these different avenues through which I listened to music. Though, you do hear a lot of artists say, well, I was born and raised in the church and blah, blah, blah. That's part of my story. That's just a minute part of it. So I totally understand the non-traditional venues of listening to music. So do you remember how old you were when you discovered that you could really like actually sing, Tony?
Well, I discovered that I wanted to sing at 22. Right, I was actually in the Air Force at that time. By the time that I started to get into where I was actually creatively involved in music, hip
Mm-hmm.
hop had already taken over. Right, so I was there at the very beginning before there were hip hop records. Long Island, we had the Mechanics Crew and New York Employees, and Grandmaster Flash wasn't even heard of that back then. So basically back then the regions were split up about who were the best DJs and rappers. So at that particular time, my interest in music became about being a rapper. So I'm going to skip past that, but that's where my first beginnings were as a vocalist in music. Once I went into the Air Force, I was actually quite successful in the first years as a rapper. I was born in New York, right? So there was a way that we rapped that people were starting to only hear on record. So I was being booked at large arenas. I was at the Raleigh Civic Center, the Dorton Arena, rapping at thousands and thousands of people while I was in the Air Force. But I remember one day as I was coming back to the day room at the base, and there was a gentleman there. He didn't have thousands of people around him. He was just sitting at a piano in the day room, and he was playing a Stevie Wonder song. I can't remember what it was, uh, but there were about three men in there and four or five women. And I remember as he was playing, he was moving them. Now, while I was at the Dorton Arena, I heard them screaming, but it was more like a pep rally. This man was in his living, it was in our day room, moving people. And I said, whatever that is, I want to do that. So at 22, I decided that I would try to learn to do it. And the reason why I'm going back to this thing is because I spent the next 22. So I spent the next 44 years trying to learn something that most people are either born with or are taught in a more conventional scenario. So when you ask when did I discover I could sing, I could just
Mhm.
say I'll say yesterday because I'm always trying to learn, always trying to get better. I wouldn't say that I'm I wouldn't say that I'm a vocalist particularly. I'm a songwriter who likes to sing his songs. So I'm always learning, and as I mentioned earlier, and as you mentioned earlier, that everybody's experiences can be a little bit different, and so my experience continues to go forward. But that is the raw beginnings of how I came to want to do more than just be a citizen and a fan of music.
Right. So your early 20s, yes?
Early 20s, yes. when I
Yeah,
discovered that making a song was a little bit more um, emotional and in depth than just writing rap music at that particular time. Now, since then, of course, we've had a lot of great rappers who move people.
sure.
But this brother was sitting in there, and these people, men and women, they were being moved by this guy. And that was a life changing moment for me.
So did you ever start traveling, Tony?
Well, in the Air Force, we traveled quite a bit, but I'm I'm a bit of an anomaly. I'm not really a person that likes this. I spend a lot of my creative time right here in this space behind me. I don't. I have traveled, but I wouldn't say I'm the biggest fan. I'm always at my best and my most comfortable when I'm in a setting where I can be creative.
Right, right. And that's what I meant. Uh, if you were in any branch of service, I'm sure that, you moved around here and
Yeah.
there.
Hmm.
But on the subject of music, and then beginning to branch out and find kind of discover yourself, right? So, um, were you a part of any talent shows that got you into different regions, or what did that look like for you?
All right. So I
Things
wasn't
about
I wasn't prepared for that question. I'm ready for the question, but I'm going to be quite frank.
yeah,
I was two times I was on the greatest talent show in the world. It was the Apollo. Me and my best friend
yeah,
Julius Nelson went on there two times. The first time I was on the Apollo, I hadn't I'd been writing for a while, but I hadn't sung live, and I was trying to sing an original song. It did not go well. And when I say it's the biggest talent show in the world, is because the consequences of not doing well are quite dire,
yes,
right?
yes.
So so when me and my partner, his name is Julius. I don't know if you've heard any of the tracks on the album, but he's the gentleman with the deep voice. He's got the very white voice. So he comes out onto the stage, right? And
Yeah.
everybody's screaming because he sounds wonderful. And the first few notes I sing when I get out there are just not good, right? Because like
Uh-oh.
right, because I hadn't been singing in front of people, and my diaphragm, I was nervous and I couldn't control my intonation at the time, and it wasn't pleasant. So we got booed, right? And I remember when we were leaving the theater that night and we were heading uptown, I was ready to quit music. And
No.
well, that's, I was going to be hearing about it for the next few weeks from everybody I know. Right? It wasn't the weekly Wednesday uh, Apollo. It was the Saturday night Apollo. So I was about to hear it from everybody that I wasn't very good. And
I get it.
so we were all going uptown.
Mhm.
My partner, without trying to help me, he just helped me.
Oh,
He was just walking around, and I was moping, and he was like, "Let's go down this block, man." I think he wanted to find some stuff, whether some marijuana, whatever he was looking for at the time. He just
oh
could
my
care.
God.
He could absolutely care less, right?
I see what you mean.
Care
Yeah.
less.
Sure.
And I was
Sure.
watching him, and the thought of quitting never even entered his mind. So I
Wow.
said, "So how do I move on from here?" And I said, "Well, this is a lesson. So I have to go back and I have to work harder." So 4 years, Val says it's 2 years. I think it's 4 years, but a couple of years later, we went back on to the Apollo, and a couple of lessons that I learned, I went on there. This time I sang a cover song. This time the intonation was great, and I got applause and everything. So we actually went back on and we did a wonderful job that time. And the one and only time me and my best friend hugged was that night, because we felt like we had undone a loss. You know what I mean?
I do.
So I
Yeah.
don't have any better talent show stories than that one. But it was a rough night, and we went back because we thought that the best way to undo that was to learn from our mistakes and go back and fight and do what we did. And I'd like to thank him now, Julius Nelson, my best friend.
Weren't you just a bit nervous to go back and try your hand at that again at
Yeah,
all?
yeah. The nervousness for a guy that, well, in my perspective, the nervousness for a guy like me is
Hmm.
far outweighed by the finality of the initial failure.
Gotcha.
It's either be afraid and then lose and then forever be a lose, you loser, and then or to
Hmm.
go back and to try harder. So I had to be realistic. I had a friend of mine at the time with the first the booing, and he said, "Doc, the problem is that they didn't know the song you were singing. They didn't give you a chance." And I said to myself, "That's not what happened. What happened was I sang poorly." And he was like, "Oh, no, 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 listen, see." So I said, "I sang poorly." And he goes, "Doc, you're just trying to get it." I said, "No." I said, "If I'm going to fix this, I have to realize what the problem was." So I went to a friend of mine, my other little brother, Jimmy Salvamini, an excellent singer, probably my favorite singer. He's my little brother. He was signed by Luther Vandross to a record company when he was a child on Star Search. So at
Wow.
the time he said, "Tony, go find a song that you and your buddy can sing it over and over again like you know it, back and forth. Go to these karaoke, go to the the open mics and sing it, and then when you're ready, then go sing it for people that pay." Right? He does. And when I bring the story up, he never remembers it for some reason, but that's what he said. So we did that with "Kiss and Say Goodbye." So we went back 4 years later, sang "Kiss and
Ooh,
Say Goodbye," and they were clapping and everything else. So yeah, that story is probably one of the cornerstones of where I could have stepped away or continued to go. And
sure.
I think that when you do things like that, you have to ask yourself why you're doing it in the first place, right? If you're trying to get famous, then perhaps that initial failure, you're out. But if you love the craft of making music, then you stick
Yeah.
around. I wanted to continue to make music. So we went back and no booing, just
No proof.
a lot of applause. A
And
lot
I'm
of
sure you just exhaled like, oh, thank God,
You couldn't have said it better. That's exactly how I felt. Yes, absolutely. I was very, very pleased. Unfortunately, if there was any possible way to get rid of the first one, that'd be wonderful. But yes,
can't erase
I was
history
very
like that.
well, yeah. So this is part of the history that I had to get through to start believing that I could possibly be someone that creates music.
Well, I can attest that that probably was uh, a huge learning curve for you. And I'm sure something good came out of that, Tony. And I know that because I have an ear for music. And what I've heard so far from you is amazing. So what I want to do though, because I wanted to talk a little bit more about your music and a couple of other things before we get to the music premiere. I need to take a quick break, okay? So get some water, chill for a moment. We'll be back with you. And you guys, I see you coming in and I see the comments. I just want to acknowledge you as well. Thank you so much for joining me on tonight. It is always good to have you guys on to support the artists who come in. Thank you for supporting me and Tony. We have a wonderful, wonderful music premiere tonight that you do not want to miss. So stay close, don't go away. We'll be back in just a minute on Unsigned Artists Reveal Worldwide.
Late Night is still making noise. Composer keyboardist Jesse J.T. Jazz Thompson, along with Billboard charting saxophonist Judah Seeley, collaborators of the music masterpiece Late Night, available now on all digital platforms. Join us every Monday at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time to hear the stories of artists you love and discover artists you'll learn to love on Unsigned Artist Reveal Worldwide via Facebook and YouTube. We are expanding. You can locate us on 7 affiliate radio stations, rebroadcasting Unsigned Artist Reveal worldwide segments around the globe. Come on, join the indie community.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to the show. If you are just tuning in, it's a great time to tune in to see Tony Pruden. He is a singer, songwriter, producer. I have watched some of his videos, I've watched some of his promos, I have listened to his CD, and we are definitely going to share with you how you can connect with Tony before this night is over, all of his handles and everything. Um, I just want to say hello to a few people. I know you guys are just coming in. Keith Gilchrist, let's see, where are you? I know I saw you. I just see my last name there. But hey, Chris, one of my partners in crime in promotions, I appreciate you coming on and hanging out with me on tonight. And Ron Lefford is here, one of my very good friends in promotions as well. All of my promotion buddies are on tonight, and I'm so glad. Colleen Keithley, she is here tonight as well. I think I saw her in here, but I'll definitely bring her on in just a little bit. Chenier is here from the UK. I don't know if that I saw Martin Higgs. He may be in, but I'm just not sure. We've got so many people who are on. And I just want to say thank you guys so much for supporting the Unsigned Artist Reveal Worldwide. Our special guest has come back to the platform, and we want to continue to pick his brain, ask him some more questions so that he can share with you guys. Tony, you are multi talented, and I was sharing with him, you're a singer, songwriter, producer, but I don't know if they know that you're self taught. Now, that's amazing because I've seen some of your skills. I've seen some of the really funny promos that you've done, some of the commercials. They are amazing. They're excellent.
Thank
Uh,
you.
yeah, sure. So, as you kind of matriculated through um, your music journey, what at what point did you find yourself saying, okay, I know I can do some of the promotions. Not only can I sing, but I can produce. How far were you into the game when you decided that I can do this? I can do all of this, especially producing, and you write too as well. Yes.
Yeah, I write all the songs. I play all of the instruments in the songs. I sing all the leads and the backgrounds in the songs, and do almost all of the photography and the videography that I do. Everything almost single handedly, most of it, but not because I want to micromanage. It's just that.
Oh,
Uh, well, look at how the world's changed over the years, right? So
sure.
these skill sets are much more accessible now, right?
Yes.
Certainly, video editing software isn't as expensive as it used to be. The equipment isn't as expensive as it used to be. Photography software, you can get it for free out there. I mean, it's prohibitively uh, to hire another person to do something that at the earliest stages of your creativity
Right.
might that could actually get rid of your resources a lot sooner doesn't seem to make sense with the availability of the new technology. So I would have to say over the last 10, 15 years that the technology dictated that I should handle these things myself. Most people, in my experience, probably you being a creative yourself, you know this, is that
Hmm.
most people are multi-talented. They don't just sing; they can act. They
Right.
usually have an eye for fashion, or
Sure.
so when you take those things and you can do composition very well, then taking pictures is nothing to you, right? You know how to choose an outfit. You know how to stand 3/4 to the left. You take 20 pictures and hope two of them come out right, right? And
Yes,
that's just the way it is. So the technology and the world made those decisions for me. I didn't make those decisions. To be quite frank, I would love to um, relent a lot of those decisions to people that I trust. Right? If I had the circumstances that allowed me to hire, videographers that I trust and photographers that I trust, guitar players and keyboardists that I trust who can voice the chords a little better, I would certainly work with them. But as you mentioned earlier, being an artist who produces his own stuff and does his own thing, those ideas right now make the most sense that I do them all for the time being, at least for the most part. You know,
absolutely.
the
Yeah,
album
absolutely. Yeah.
And by the way, I do have partners that help me. I have Vincent Brown, who is helps me with the photography. He has a great eye for photography. My partner Julius Nelson on the songs. He co-writes a few of them with me, and also he's a good ear to listen. As I mentioned, my little brother Jimmy Salvamini, he doesn't
Great.
write on the songs, but he's a guy that'll tell me in a second that a second verse is out of tune or the bridge isn't written right, those kinds of things. So I do have people that I've known forever since I was in my teen years or my 20s that helped me out a
Yeah.
lot.
That'll
So
call you out on a few things here and there, right?
without hesitation, and they enjoy
Aw. Well, I wanted to touch on that a little bit in that um, when I began to listen to your music, especially the new project today, it sounds a little bit like the artist Kim. Have you ever been compared to him before?
Um, not him specifically. I love
Yeah,
him, by the way. I love more. He's got great music, but more than his
yeah.
music, I love
Mhm.
his direction. Kem has decided that there is a specific genre and sound he wants to give to his audience that he
Yep.
knows they respond to, and he delivers it right.
Right.
Um, but the truth is about my album. My album is the internet. Facebook curated my album. I mean, most of those songs, I put out 2 or 3 songs. One of those 3 songs they would give a lot of likes to, and I go, okay, they like this song, and then they like that song. But what
Mm,
really happened was, since the social media has changed,
yeah.
I had made a decision at my age that I wasn't so sure I wanted to stick with social media all that much. But before I got off of social media, I said maybe I should take the songs that the internet helped curate and put them together into some sort of cohesive album, right?
Yeah.
Because to be frank, I hadn't put out an album before. So I spent the better part of the last year or so putting this album together, and I wanted to do it in a way that respected the audience that I had built and the people that were going to listen to it. I didn't want anything to be low quality, so instead of I had every song that I had mixed remixed by a gentleman named Blake Eisman. He has
Mhm.
worked on Everybody Music Soul Child. So I had him mix it. Very expensive, but I wanted it done right because I wanted to
Sure.
respect the listener. When I
Sure.
shot the album art, we did it properly. We rented the car that's on the album, and we had to go find a space, and it was a whole thing. Because at the end of the day, this may be the only album that I do at 61. Hopefully, there'll
Right.
be more, but you never know, right? So
Absolutely.
every aspect of the creative process, particularly for this project, the Anticipations project, I
Mm.
wanted it done as if a label had gotten their hands on it to the best of my ability.
Of course, of course, of course. I want to ask you something though, Tony.
Sure.
I want to circle back to some of the earlier things that you did. You noted in your resume that you had at one point been signed to Next Plateau Records, and that, for those who don't know, that was a big deal because Salt and Pepper here was on that particular label. How long were you signed to them?
A year.
Oh, okay,
Oh, what happened was that was back in the rap days, right?
of
So I was doing
course,
rap
of
music
course.
at the time,
Mhm.
and we were all hanging out. The place where a lot of the record companies, particularly not Next Plateau, but Def Jam, recorded was at this place called the Chungking House of Metal. And I remember the last the last couple of days we were recording our song that me and Julius Nelson, my partner, who ran uptown and got me to get my head straight for the Apollo, we went back in there because we were running a little low on money. So him and I went to Chunking House of Metal's storage room and stole our 2-inch reel out of there because we couldn't afford to finish it. We went in there and got our reel and ran up out of there and stuff. And on the
Um,
way out, we saw LL Cool J. He was getting ready to go into a session. He was out there cracking jokes and stuff. And
oh my God.
yeah, so
So, what did that experience on the label, if any, taught you? It,
nothing
it,
really. That experience didn't teach me. Actually, the people at Next Plateau Records, they were actually very kind. They actually gave me a distorted view of the business because I got that deal so quickly that I had an unrealistic idea of how hard it would be to get the next deal.
uh,
And while I was transitioning from being a rapper and trying to learn to do music,
mhm.
there were a lot of problems that had come about with the production end and stuff. I didn't put it in the resume there, but I had a brief period of time. Did I lose you? Hello.
No, you didn't. These are just cameras for close-ups.
Oh, sorry. Okay. So during that time, a little bit after that, I didn't put it in the uh, my resume, but I had gotten signed to a production deal by Freddie Jackson's people. They gave me $1,000 to come up with a single, and I didn't really understand the difference between a record deal and a production deal. So I produced a couple of songs, and there were probably a lot more things wrong with those songs at the time. But one of their biggest problems with it is that it sounded too much like a Prince song, and because they were more of, it was more of an R&B and a crooner thing there. That job didn't really go through. I mean, they were putting me into clothes and stuff, but the truth is, to be honest, I wasn't ready anyway, not for music. So it
Got
really,
it.
so it would not have mattered at the time. When you're trying to learn the craft of chord progressions and production and the difference between a Fender Rhodes and a Wurlitzer, it's going to take that's going to take a lot more than just learning to sing, right? And I
Yep.
love the whole art of making music. I wanted to know the difference between what instruments. So it took me a long time to get where I thought somebody would actually accept what I was doing. So Next Plateau, I would say that they are not a good example of a record company because they were fair, they were patient, and I just didn't, at that time I did not have the goods. So
Wow. Well, I
yeah,
mean, that's fair to say.
yeah,
I
absolutely.
appreciate that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they were fair. Um, the thing about shortly after that, this is a book. You probably have seen it before. The gentleman's name is. I have a copy here. The gentleman's name is Donald Passman. Donald Passman is the gentleman that wrote the initial series. When I tell you the title, you probably remember it. If anybody out there that's in the comments knows the music business, you know the book. All you need to know about the music business,
Of
right?
course. Of
Right.
course.
So it's written by Donald Passman. And Donald
Mhm.
Passman at that time, after I was Next Plateau Records, I read the book from cover to cover, right? So I
Mhm.
understood at that time what business the record companies were in. And they were in, at that time, they were in the product selling business. They were selling
Of
vinyl
course.
records and CDs. Uh,
Hmm.
about before I put out this album, he had taken 3 to 4 years to write his latest edition, which is
Mhm.
it's the 11th edition, called Everything You Need to Know About the Music Business. And the reason why it took him 4 years to write it is because so much has changed, with streaming
Yep.
and all of that. So what we learned from his book and anything else, if you've been watching, is that the record business is no longer in the business of making records. They're in the business of making loans, right?
Yep.
They get 100, let's call it $100,000, and they get it from a loan place, somebody, some organization, and they pay a very, very low percentage. And what they do is they give it to you as a budget, and you get that money. They expect 100% of that money back before they start paying you, and of the money they start paying you, you only get less than 5% of that. So they have a high yield return on a loan that they got from another company that they got at a really, really low rate. So they're kind of sort of in the banking business now.
Got it. Got it.
So
Wow.
yeah, so all of these things I've learned, over the years, it took me a while for those two areas to meet, for me to understand what I'm trying to do in this business and how to do the thing properly. And one thing that I learned about doing things properly is that I need a little help. I need somebody else's ears. I got my buddies that have been with me this whole time that are actually very good at the things that they do, and they help me out. I
Right.
don't know if that answers your question. I probably trailed off a little bit there.
No, that's okay because what I wanted to do, it's time for another break, but I want you to keep in mind the goal of Bad Old Man Productions.
Sure.
I know that is your current baby, and I just kind of wanted to know what's your next step because you've learned so much over the years, and that's a good thing. And it's apparent that you love what you do because you do an excellent job of it. But I just want you to think about what next steps are, and if you want to bring others in under that label. Just so many different things that I want to talk about. But one more break, and we're going to come back and we're going to chat about those things. Okay. So, everybody, I hope you're enjoying the conversation. There's a lot that he's sharing. And if you are kind of geeky like me, meaning that you want to learn, you want to enjoy the music, but then there's parts of the music business that you would like to kind of know a little bit about. It's all unfolding right here tonight on Unsigned Artist Reveal Worldwide. So listen, don't go away. We'll be back with more Tony Pruden in just a moment.
I'm Sabrina Taylor, creator and host of the indie platform Unsigned Artist Reveal Worldwide, where the artist shares their story and I premiere their latest release. Connect with Unsigned Artist Reveal Worldwide here, live from New York City. The Loft, every Sunday, 4 p.m. Eastern. Come on, join the indie community. Late Night is still making noise. Composer keyboardist Jesse J.T. Jazz Thompson, along with Billboard charting saxophonist Judah Seeley, collaborators of the music masterpiece Late Night, available now on all digital platforms.
Hey, everybody, welcome to the last half hour of the show. And I am so glad that you joined us. I am Sabrina Taylor, creator and host of Unsigned Artist Reveal Worldwide. And I love it that you're here and that you're joining us with our special guest tonight, singer, songwriter, producer, and all the above. I mean, just very, very knowledgeable about some of the facets of the music industry. His name's Tony Pruden. I, of course, have the music premiere we're going to share in just a little bit. But Tony has a production company called Bad Old Man Productions. Now, where'd that come from? How'd you get inspired to name your production company Bad Old Man Productions? Talk about that.
Well, I keep bringing up the same names because I still have the same circles. But I remember when Jimmy and I were, my little brother Jimmy, the gentleman that was on Star Search, we were going to do some kind of project, me, him, and Julius. And we said, why don't we call it Bad Old Man, because the acronym was BOM, the bomb, right? So we said that would be very cool. And we didn't do that. We made some kind of Christmas song. And then after that, being friends, we just went on and kept doing our thing. And then once this project started, with me going to get the grant to do the album, I decided that I wanted to really focus on something that's been very personal to me. And that is that this is a little polarizing, but Black men in this country aren't really, they're not really characterized as people that are intelligent or hard workers or smart or articulate and characterized, that is. Most of my friends are great family men. Most of them are responsible, talented, and all of these other things. And all of my friends are in their 50s and 60s. So before this album came out, I wanted to have a project where all of the people that were working on it with me were senior Black men. So everybody that's helped me, they've been doing this. So the focus, that's what we called it. But as we're moving forward, remember, this album just came out like a short period of time ago, and we actually didn't finish the production on it and send it out to press until a couple of months ago. But the plan moving forward is really not just to sell a CD, but to create an idea about mature men of color that spells us out in a different way. With my production company. My brother has a master's degree in cinematography. Vince is an excellent photographer. Julius Nelson served his country faithfully and is one of the best songwriters and lyricists ever. And what I plan to do with Bad Old Man moving forward is to create on my platforms and create other platforms that sort of show us in a different light, not just as fighters or boxers or rappers or any of those things, but as men who have some sort of depth of thought and have a perception of the world that probably isn't expected from everybody else. So that's really what Bad Old Man is about. That's why I work out 6 days a week down here. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm 61 years old. And I wouldn't say I'm the smartest person in the world, but I try to read and I try to get my own perspective and an understanding of the world and politics and everything that you can possibly imagine. So I'm
Sure.
a student of those things, but I like to think that me and my brothers and the people that I know can speak intelligently on many of these issues. And those are the things that I'm going to try to use my music and this production company to focus on going forward. We're just starting right now. This album is the first product from this. So that's what we're hoping to do. That's the plan going forward. And more important than selling CDs, more important than people loving my music is changing the perception of how we are viewed as a group of people. We have to be our own support group because the world is not doing that. So I want to change that perception as much as I can. That's what
Right.
Bad Old Man is about.
And I tip my hat to you for that because making a change and an impact, one person at a time, is important,
Sure.
and I applaud you for that. Uh, Being positive in the world, creating a space where people can feel safe and they can apply their skills, become recognized, and I didn't even mean to segue into that, but I did want to I will use this as a segue into some of the awards that you've received along the way. Recognition is everything, People, I think basically people are good people and they want to be acknowledged as such. I mean, nobody wants to walk around and say, "Hey, just look at me as a mean old man," or a mean old woman. I think everybody just wants a part of a space where they can contribute and be recognized, however that is for them. But you received a certificate of special congressional recognition for outstanding and invaluable service to the community. Talk about that right quick.
So I have another friend. His name is Tracy Hunter. Tracy Hunter is a huge member of the Long Island and New York community,
Mhm.
and he's asked me on some very important occasions to dedicate my time, whether it's a live performance or my skills as an engineer, to some of the projects that we've done, and uh, several different projects over the years. And because of most of those awards come from those experiences where I dedicated some creative time to my community and to the projects that he was supporting. Some of those, I would say half of those time, I didn't even know those certificates were coming. I was just in there twisting knobs and plugging in wires, jumping up to sing in the middle of it all. So,
Yeah.
yeah. But I would like to address one thing about recognition, if that's okay. Again, probably polarizing. I would have to say that if people find something valuable in helping others that
Mhm.
doesn't get them recognition, then that's more important than hoping to get recognition for something. Because, in my opinion, in my heart of hearts, I do believe that we've come to a time in our society where we think that attention is more important than content and context. I mean, the content of your heart and what you believe in,
Mhm.
and other people, your lives, the lives of others, right? So
Sure.
we have to remember that the whole of a community is more important than the individual, right? So you got to give your
Yeah.
time without seeking it. I remember one time I was talking to one of my children, and they were concerned about the impact that they were having at the time on another group of people. They were
Mhm.
doing something specific. I don't want to expose any one of them, but they were doing something specific, and they were concerned whether they were reaching the people. I said, well, most importantly, you have to remember that you're not going to get the rewards yourself if you've impacted someone. If you say something important to someone, then they're going to remember that important thing when you're not around, when they're in a circumstance where it's very important. So you just have to be satisfied with the fact that you did the right thing at the right time.
Sure.
Accolades may come, and you probably may even deserve them, but you should not seek them out as a goal of goodwill.
No, absolutely not. And definitely wasn't my thought, but
Sure.
I want to give people their recognition while they're alive. I've noticed in America that we wait until a person's dead before we talk about all the good things that they did.
That is true.
And that's the only place that I was going with that. And so when someone has inspired me, I want to honor them. And I'm not saying that they were seeking to be honored, but I think you should give honor where honor is due. And for me, that's that's just my they say
That
my
makes sense.
truth these
Well,
days.
well,
These
well, that,
days,
well, that makes sense because you're in the business of giving gratitude to people that deserve it, and that goes to my point. So
yes.
when you mentioned that about the gratitude and people deserve it, it wasn't my jumping point. My point was actually that this is the world we live in now,
Oh
where
yeah, no, 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 I totally
people,
get
where people
it.
when
Yeah,
they're doing something of charity, they've already got their camera out before they do it,
of
right?
course, of
But
course.
you're talking about giving where it's deserved, and that is to be commended and recommended.
Right. And I actually confronted somebody, and I'm going to move on after this,
Sure,
on Facebook, where she had gone into a restaurant
sure.
and she had some money. And this person was the person that she actually gave the money to was a hostess, if you will. And she was taping herself giving the hostess money. And I said to the person, because I felt some kind of way, and I said, you should never let your left hand know what your right hand is doing. I said, because what it appears to me is that you were wanting to get recognized for what you were doing. Um, I said, when you bless somebody, the blessing itself is a blessing. It's a blessing to be a blessing. We hear that a lot, right?
Sure.
And I just felt some kind of way. So, needless to say, I think she unfriended me, and that was okay. But that it felt wrong. It didn't feel like she was doing it to help that person only. She was helping herself and that person. Yes, I get that. But there are just some things that people do on Facebook, I think, for numbers. I think that's what it was about. And so I hope she got what she was after.
Mhm.
But I totally agree that when you do good things come back to you. And that being said, I want to talk about you again. I want to share with others the good in your music, the way that the music makes me feel. Uh, as I was sharing earlier, it reminds me of Kim. I don't know what, and I don't know that I asked you this. Maybe you did, but if you could reiterate it to me,
Sure.
is it, you said you liked Kim's music, but who are some of your other musical influences, whether instrumentally or vocally? Who are some of the people that inspire you in the business music?
Um, no, that's you would think that'd be a hard question, but it's actually kind of easy for me because I study this a lot. Yeah, Prince is the number one. Prince
Oh,
is one of the most fearless songwriters and musicians ever. I can't dance like him. I would say I don't sing like him, but I remember, I don't remember, I would only be paraphrasing, but I remember some interview where Prince was talking about his songwriting, and Prince just lets go. He doesn't constrain his songwriting. So my professor for lyrics is Prince. Uh,
mhm.
but when I was learning to sing, or teaching myself to sing as well as I do, I don't want to say learn to sing because you might have some people on there that can really blow and go, that guy ain't learned to sing yet. But
Got it.
when I was teaching myself to sing to this level that I'm at now,
Hmm.
I was trying to figure out what I was doing wrong. And so I got very attached to Luther Vandross and how he would approach uh, his notes on the downbeat, how he would breathe notes, or even Maxwell and how he handled falsetto. So I had a lot of fans that I was a fan of a lot of musicians that did certain things a different way. Donny Hathaway, the way he orchestrated a song, the
Yep.
Beatles are the greatest group in my opinion of all time. They just
Yep.
write some of the best music. Them and the Isley Brothers, greatest groups of all time. So I always feel like I can learn the most from people that are way better than me. Way, way, way better. So when I'm around a musician that's extraordinary or a singer that's extraordinary, I'm always going to be moved and hopefully pick up something that'll help me get it just a little better the next time.
I totally understand that. Totally. And I want people to understand why I was so excited about bringing you on tonight
Yes, I'd like to know why too.
because anticipations,
Yes.
and I thought that was a unique title for your CD as well. What, how did that come to be? The title and title track.
Um, okay, this is the meat, right?
Okay.
Anticipations is an album that sort of kind of harkens back to the old R&B songs and R&B albums. I
I,
remember when you buy a cassette tape or you buy a record, on the first half you'd have all the up-tempo songs and mid-tempo songs, and if you flipped it over you had the slow songs, right?
true.
So
Yep.
I had that, and I wanted to add that in there. So I had to go through all of the stuff that the wonderful Facebook audience had curated for me and go, which songs they like, which ones they don't, right?
Right.
So as I was going through all of those, I'm looking for a title for the album. And the one that struck me the most, I think, was the song that sort of embodied the album as a whole. And that's my song. It's track 5 on the album. It's Anticipations.
Yep.
And Anticipations is a song really about a man who has an idea in his mind about the perfect woman.
Right.
And when he talks about what the perfect woman is to friends that he, to his friends and loved ones, they go,
Mhm.
"You're aiming too high." So he's got to make a choice. Does he settle for less, or does he anticipate for the best and stay patient until he gets it? So anticipation
Right.
is about a man that's willing to wait for something, even if it takes a long time to get it, for what he thinks is the ideal woman. And when we talk about songwriting and lyrics, I like to go a little bit past no, just the thoughts. There's a song on my album called "The Last Time." "Last Time" is the very last song on the album.
Yep.
Uh, and the last time, people, every time they describe what they think the song means, they're wrong. The last time is a song that deals with the idea of intimacy for the first time with the person you might marry, right?
Right. Right.
So, in my opinion, in my very male opinion, I could be so wrong. I'm probably wrong. But when you're intimate for the very first time with somebody, a man walks away from that intimacy risking nothing. A
Mm.
woman, if she's been in relationships before and they have not worked out, when she's going to be intimate with you, she risks everything, every
Right.
single time. So
Hmm.
in that song, even though I don't just out and out spell it out, the song "The Last Time" means if you're of the same mind as me, this will be the last time you have to feel that way.
Right.
That's what the last time is about. And so
Got
when I
it.
all of the songs have those kinds of meanings, except for the ones that are just in your face. "Ooh, you sexy babe." That's just you chasing your woman
Right.
around the house before she got to go.
Exactly.
She's
Yeah.
trying to get ready for work, and you're bothering her. So that's what that one's about. But
Right.
Anticipations about that. "Interlude" is one of those songs as well. That's number 6 on the album. "Interlude" is about a relationship that's never going to work. And but these two individuals keep coming together to share time, and in that moment they keep lying to each other that it's going to work, and it's not going to work. So "Interlude," even though it's called "Interlude" on the song, it's not really an interlude. It's
No, I get it.
they're
Yeah.
having an
Yeah.
interlude, but the lyrics are to suggest that these two just keep saying and sharing ideas about the future that aren't going to happen, and that's what that's about.
It kind of reminds me of the song "Where's the Love." Do you know what I mean?
Perfect idea.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yes,
Yeah.
perfect. That's a good
Yeah.
idea. That's a good comparison. You know,
Hmm. Right.
because relationships, when we talk about songwriting, we usually think about the relationships as either they're working or they don't, right? "I love you, I love you, I love you, I miss you, I miss you, I miss you." But relationships are much more complicated than that.
Much more.
They're not just good or bad. They're not just you're happy or sad. They're everything in between.
Yep.
And when I was writing even a song like "Ooh, You Sexy Babe," that's a little. I like to talk about the actual things that we might do if the woman's in the kitchen and she's trying to prepare her food, and we come in there bothering y'all, and y'all don't like it, but really you kind of do like it.
I
So
get it.
so I wanted to go a little bit past just a little bit past the "I love yous" in these songs and these ideas. Um, 2 songs I want to talk about before stop running my mouth here for a second. During the pandemic, when it first happened, Jimmy again, he comes back into the picture. He at that time they had a challenge on the internet, and it was called. As a singer, you probably know it. Everybody was singing. He's got the whole world in his hands. So they
Of
would go, I
course.
challenge
Yeah.
you. I challenge you.
Sure. Yeah.
I hate Facebook challenges. So my little brother sends me, I challenged Tony Pruden to sing, He's Got the Whole World in His Hands. And I said, well, my little brother knows I'm not going to do that. So
Right.
I went into the studio. I said, how can I get him to leave that alone? So I wrote this song, 1 minute song. It's called Stronger. It was only a minute long. And I
saw it.
I aimed the camera at myself. I sat down and I played my little simple chords and I sang the song. But when I was writing it, I wanted to make sure I was actually talking about what it might feel like to other people who are going to now have to stay at home all the time, right?
Right. Yep.
So I wanted to really like a prison with familiar views. Is like being in your house, but you can't leave. Everything's familiar here, but it's still a prison because you can't go and do what you want to do.
Right.
And at that time, I wrote that. I was working on a song called Giving Me Life. So I stopped writing after the first verse of Giving Me Life. That's the first song on the album, to write Stronger. And when Stronger got out there, all I wanted to do was to get my little brother to not send these challenges. And the song just took off. It had so many views and it affected a lot of people everywhere. And it was probably the most impactful moment of my songwriting career, that somebody who did not know me was telling me that my songs moved them. Right. So, and then once I started working on the album, I had these 2 1-minute songs, right? I had Stronger.
Oh, God.
Well, now I got to make an album, so I got to go back and write the rest of these things. So I had to go back in and write a second verse and a bridge. And
Yeah, but I love Stronger because you have it pinned to the top of your page.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so I really, really like that song. But the song that I'm going to premiere, because just for the sake of time, I've got to roll forward.
Sure.
We are going to premiere Anticipations tonight, and of course, you guys will get his contact information, and then you can listen to his entire library on this LP. I love to call it that because I miss albums.
CDs, by the way, people. If you're one of the older people, you still got a CD player in your car. My CDs are actually available on Bandcamp as well. So
we'll release that. We'll release that right after the premiere.
100%. And they're autographed.
Definitely will give you the opportunity to share all that in just a minute.
Fair enough.
Listen, guys, let's go into the premiere so that you can hear my excitement for the song. So enjoy Anticipations by our special guest, Tony Pruden. All right, we'll see you in just a little bit.
some of y'all relate. Some of y'all are gonna hate. There ain't really no debate. Woman worthy of the wait. Maybe some of y'all relate. Some of y'all are gonna hate. There ain't really no debate. Woman worthy of the wait. Maybe some of y'all relate. Some of y'all are gonna hate. There ain't really no debate. Woman worthy of the wait.
Well, everybody, that was music from our guest tonight, Tony Pruden. I just adore that song. There was someone else who said that's one of their favorite songs as well. There's so many comments that say it's very smooth, smooth talent. Yes, it's very cool, outstanding. Their hearts all over the place. Tony, you've got to go back in the chat and respond. There's so many comments in here about that song. I think that song deserves radio.
I think the
Um,
production you did with the little video you made deserves a lot of credit too. I was like,
I
where'd that come?
oh wait, I forgot about that.
That was nice. I was like, whoa, did I make this video? And I was like, I didn't make that. That's good. Now I know how to make. Now I know how to make my video.
Well, no, I just wanted something where the picture wasn't standing still for 4 minutes and 29
Sure.
seconds.
I loved it.
Thank you, thank
Really
you.
good.
And the thing is, I take pride in it because I will listen to lyrics and I want to know what the person would envision as they're hearing your lyrics and try to feel your heart as you're singing that song. And
Nailed it.
so,
You nailed it.
thank you,
Really good.
thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank
Well,
you.
we want everybody to follow you. Please go to tonypruden.bandcamp.com, and his music is there. Uh, just dive in, Tony, and share with them anything else that you'd like for them to know, because your handles are down here as well for social.
I'm Tony Pruden on Instagram, of course. I'm Tony Pruden on Facebook. I love people. I love Facebook. I know a lot of people are IG people, but come on over on Facebook.
Yep.
I have another platform on Facebook. I just started it. It's Bad Old Man.
Oh,
So Bad Old Man is on face. It's on. I'm sorry, not Facebook, but Instagram.
Instagram.
Bad Old Man is there. But to get the digital download of the album and the actual CD, you get both if you purchase the CD. You go to Bandcamp and you can buy the CD. And every CD I'm signing my autograph to. So if you purchase one, I'll sign my autograph to that CD. And for those who aren't CD people, my album is available on every single streaming platform right now. So if you just want to listen in your living room on a Sunday afternoon and
Yeah.
enjoy it, it's there as well.
Well, that's great that you made it available like across every possible platform, from YouTube to Bandcamp to the digital. That's really cool because people are now getting back to saying, "Hey, I want a physical CD," and to
Yes.
know that you'd sign it, that's wonderful as well. So, are you going to perform live at all with this new music, Tony?
Well, I just did an album release on the 29th, I think it was.
All that.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I'm editing. It's an hour and a half we recorded. So I'm busy cutting it down to a nice little 9 minutes because, as you know, nowadays attention spans are quite short. So I'm editing and cutting that guy down so I can create a little truncated version of that. In the meantime, there's a live thing of me singing to my daughter on her wedding day.
Saw that. Yep, I
In
saw
my
that.
girl.
Yeah.
So you can check that out. But I'm going to have that on there, and then I've got a gig coming up um, on the 10th out here in Long Island. It's a old school party. We're going to do some covers that night though. But sure, and I'm available for hiring. So if anybody
Well,
wants to come and sing, they can reach out, and that's it.
I really think this needs to go to
Are you
R&B
singing? Are you
radio.
singing someplace? Are you still singing?
I'm not singing like I used to. I used to perform in bands years ago, even on Bill Street in Memphis.
Oh
That was
wow.
one of the places that but I haven't done that. When I tell you, it's been probably 10, 15 years.
Hmm.
I need to re-exercise my vocals. I do a lot of talking,
Right.
mind you, but and voiceovers and such, but I don't do the singing part like I used to.
Were you in a
And
wedding band, or were you like just in a gigging band? Were you doing wedding?
I, I was actually in a band that opened for people like Atlantic Star, Chaka Khan, Bobby Blue Bland, and we traveled um, well. It was regionally, I would say,
In
but
Mem-
then mhm,
in Memphis?
around. Well, I'm from the Jackson, Mississippi area,
Sure.
and so
It's
within
a hub.
the
I
southern
mean, it's a
region.
music hub. Memphis, Tennessee is a music hub.
I know,
Yeah,
and
it's
that's
huge.
how I ended up on Bill Street. And I would go in and I would be like a guest vocalist. I would sit in and people would come up to the stage and bring me money while I was singing, and that was always inspiring. But my story, I'll send you a text of the link to my actual story where I had an opportunity with three
Please do.
major record labels, and none of them panned out for whatever the reason, but I'm still in music.
No,
So
glad to
so
hear it.
yeah, this is where I was supposed to be. I really don't think that I was supposed to be a singer to the masses, but I
Mhm.
support those who do. Does that make sense?
Oh, yes. I think that a platform like yours is that
Mm-hmm.
extra little bit that we
Hmm.
need. You just first walk out of the oven from cooking the album up. When you have a platform like yours for us artists that aren't taking a swing at the big labels, this is very helpful. And I would have to say that your interview platform that you have here is
Hmm.
very professionally exercised. From the links to the asking for the assets to your presentation here, I would have to say of the interviews I have seen that you execute this very professional.
Thank
So
you, Tony. Thank you so, so very much. We're expanding. We're on 8 radio stations right now. I know that's not a lot for some people, but
a lot.
it's a lot of work, I promise you. It's a lot of work getting MP3s to all these different radio stations every week, So, but I am so grateful because the Unsigned Artist Reveal is literally worldwide.
Sure.
And we're in the UK and Australia. So it's growing. It's growing. Thank you, Tony.
Really nice.
Thank
Well
you.
done. Well
Thank
done.
you so much. Well, listen, there are tons of comments that are still up here. I want you, Colleen says she's connected to you, and she's definitely somebody that you need to know for what you're doing. Your music definitely fits her group. She's got tons of smooth jazz, lounge type R&B, R&B zone ish type of platforms where you can go in and share music. Please, she says she's connected with you. So Ron says he friended you on Facebook. Everybody is starting to connect, and that is what this platform is for. It is to help people who would not have known you to know you, connect with you. Now you've got more fans that you didn't have prior to coming here. And so, mission accomplished. And I appreciate you coming on and sharing your music. Continue to make that great music. I promise you, you remind me of Kim. Maybe it was just that one song,
Okay.
but the way that you executed certain riffs and runs, and it reminds me of Kim. And I love Kim's music. So,
I'm glad I sound like somebody.
but you
Some people
definitely have your,
won't be
you have your own
recognizable.
sound. You have your own sound, though, Tony. You really do.
Well, I appreciate you having me here, and thank you for the opportunity. And I do not look on this very lightly. I appreciate
Um,
the help and the professionalism and the exposure. So thank you, Sabrina.
You are so very welcome. Well, listen, everybody, I appreciate you too coming on, spending a little over an hour with us. I got to edit this down for radio because it's going to go all around the world as well. So, but again, thank you guys for loving on Tony, loving on me. Listen, remember what you make happen for others, God will make happen for you. Listen, Tony, don't you go away. I want to connect with you behind the scenes. We've got a few credits that we definitely need to run. And I again thank you guys. I love you so much, and we'll see you next week. All right, take care.
Bye.